In the heart of the Ural Mountains, a region often referred to as the backbone of Russia, lies a haunting mystery that has captivated the imagination of adventurers, researchers, and conspiracy theorists alike. It's a story that intertwines the lives of 10 experienced hikers, the harshness of winter, and a series of inexplicable events that led to their tragic demise in 1959. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident. What really happened in those unforgiving mountains? The expedition begins. The story begins on January the 27th, 1959, with a group of young, enthusiastic students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, led by Igor Dyatlov. These hikers set out on a journey across the Ural Mountains, a trek that promised both adventure and excitement. They were well prepared, armed with knowledge and experience, setting their sights on a challenging route that would take them deep into the wilderness. The group consisted of 9 hikers: Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, Rustem Slobodin, and several others, each driven by a passion for exploration. Yuri Yudin, one of the original 10 in the expedition, had dropped out 5 days into the trip after falling ill. Their destination was the Otorten Mountain, a place known for its stunning landscapes, but also for its treacherous weather conditions. Little did they know, this journey would end in tragedy, leading to questions that remain unanswered to this day. The discovery of the tent. When the group failed to return, authorities launched a search operation. On February the 26th, searchers finally found the hikers' abandoned tent on the slopes of what is now known as the Dyatlov Pass. But what they discovered inside was shocking. The tent had been cut open from the inside, suggesting a frantic escape. Belongings were left behind, including shoes and warm clothing, as if the hikers had fled into the freezing night in a panic. Why would experienced hikers abandon their shelter in such treacherous conditions? What could have terrified them so much that they would risk their lives by running into the wilderness? As investigators delved deeper into the scene, they began to unravel a story filled with eerie clues and unsettling discoveries. The search for the bodies. Following the disappearance of the Dyatlov group, an extensive search operation was launched, spearheaded by the families of the hikers and local authorities. The search began on February the 20th, 1959, just days after the hikers were reported overdue. Initial rescue efforts involved military personnel, students from local universities, and volunteers, all eager to locate the missing group. Given the inhospitable terrain and brutal winter conditions, the search was no easy task. As teams navigated the rugged landscape, they faced sub-zero temperatures, heavy snowfall, and fierce winds, making progress slow and arduous. The searchers were equipped with limited resources and often only had to rely on their own survival skills to endure the harsh elements, while combing the expansive area around the pass. After several days of searching, their efforts bore fruit when, on February 26, rescuers discovered the hikers' abandoned tent, buried under a layer of snow on the mountainside. It was a chilling find, revealing that the tent had been cut open from the inside, a sign that the hikers had fled in a panic. However, it wasn't until early March, nearly 3 weeks after the hikers had disappeared, that the bodies were found, scattered across the slopes of the mountain. Each discovery was shrouded in mystery. The first 2 bodies, that of Yuri Doroshenko and Georgy Krivonashenko, were found near the tent, dressed only in their undergarments. The cold and snow had left them frozen, yet their positions suggested that they had attempted to return to the tent, which raised even more questions about what had transpired that night. A medical examiner later noted that Krivonashenko had burns on his body and a piece of flesh in his mouth that he had bitten off of his own hand. The searchers found the bodies of hiking leader Dyatlov and Zinaida Kolmogorova, one of the 2 female students on the hike, in a different location that suggested that they were trying to head back to the tent. Later, searchers found the body of Rustem Slobodin, who also appeared to be trying to make his way back to the tent when he died. All 5 students appeared to have died from hypothermia, which can cause erratic behavior and paradoxical undressing, a phenomenon in which people start to undress because they feel hot, even though they are actually freezing to death. But there were still 4 bodies missing. That May, when more of the snow in the area had melted, an indigenous Mansi hunter discovered the remains of what appeared to be a snow den. Inside, rescue workers found the bodies of Alexander Kolevatov, Nikolai Thibeaux-Brignoli, Semyon Volotyov, and Ludmila Dubinina, the 2nd female student on the trip. For 3 of these bodies, the cause of death didn't seem to be hypothermia. Thibeaux-Brignoli had a skull fracture so severe that there are pieces of bone in his brain, while Volotyov and Dubinina had crushed chests. Both Volotyov and Dubinina's eye sockets were empty, and Dubinina was missing her own tongue. The initial investigation into the deaths couldn't determine that a crime had taken place, and ended up concluding that the hikers had died from a compelling natural force. The search teams were increasingly alarmed by the bizarre circumstances surrounding the deaths. This led to more speculation about the cause of their deaths and intensified the mystery surrounding the incident. The search for bodies would not only mark the end of a desperate rescue effort, but also signal the beginning of a complex investigation that would captivate the world for decades to come. The avalanche theory. When investigating the Dyatlov Pass incident, one of the most widely discussed theories is that the hikers fell victim to an avalanche. The Ural Mountains, known for their harsh winters and unpredictable weather, can be treacherous, particularly for inexperienced trekkers. Avalanches can occur suddenly, burying anything in their path beneath tons of snow in a matter of seconds. In this scenario, it's suggested that the group may have been caught off guard by a small but deadly avalanche, prompting their desperate escape from the tent. Supporters of the avalanche theory point out that the hiker's tent was found partially collapsed and cut open from the inside, suggesting that they had fled in a hurry. The sudden need to escape might indicate an imminent danger. Perhaps they felt the ground shaking beneath them, or heard the ominous rumble of an avalanche approaching. Furthermore, the terrain of the Dyatlov Pass, with its steep slopes and snow accumulation, is conducive to snow slides, particularly after heavy snowfall or warming temperatures. According to some experts, even a small avalanche could have caused panic, leading the hikers to make rash decisions in the dead of night. However, there are challenges to this theory. For one, an avalanche typically leaves clear signs of its occurrence: displaced snow, debris, and a path of destruction. Yet, no such evidence was found in the immediate area around the tent or in the search radius. Additionally, the injuries sustained by some of the hikers, particularly the severe trauma experienced by a few of them, raise questions about whether they could be solely attributed to an avalanche. Despite this, the avalanche theory remains one of the leading explanations for the mysterious events at the Dyatlov Pass, embodying the blend of natural dangers and the unpredictable forces of nature that can turn a routine expedition into a nightmare. Infrasound and panic. Another theory emerged from the scientific community, proposing that a phenomenon known as infrasound could have played a significant role in the hikers' terrifying experience. Infrasound, sound waves below the range of human hearing, can influence feelings of anxiety, panic, and dread. In the vast, isolated expanse of the Ural Mountains, it's plausible that the hikers encountered infrasound caused by the unique atmospheric conditions, leading to them fleeing in a state of irrational fear. The idea of infrasound provides a compelling framework for understanding their panic, but it still fails to explain the bizarre injuries that some of the hikers sustained. What could account for the missing tongue and the other unusual wounds? These unanswered questions continue to haunt the investigation. The supernatural element. Amid the scientific theories, a darker narrative began to emerge, one that delved into the supernatural. The Ural Mountains have long been steeped in local folklore and myth. Tales of ancient spirits, lost tribes, and mysterious creatures like the Yeti abound. For the indigenous Mansi people, the mountains are not just a backdrop. They are alive with the spirits of their ancestors. Legends speak of guardians that protect the sacred lands. Some locals warned of the potential dangers that await those who disrespect the mountain's sanctity. Could it be possible that these stories held a grain of truth? The allure of the supernatural intrigued many, drawing them deeper into the mystery. Some locals claimed that strange lights had been seen in the sky around the time of the hikers' disappearance. Descriptions of glowing orbs or fireballs darting across the night sky were reported, raising eyebrows and sparking imaginations. Others spoke of eerie sounds echoing through the mountains at night, like whispers or howls that seemed to come from nowhere. These accounts have led to speculation about extraterrestrial involvement or supernatural forces at play, suggesting that the hikers may have encountered something otherworldly that defied explanation. The possibility of an otherworldly encounter sent chills down the spines of many, and these ghostly tales became intertwined with the tragedy of the Dyatlov Pass incident. The combination of unexplained phenomena, chilling local folklore, and the hikers' tragic fate has created a rich tapestry of mystery that continues to bewitch researchers and thrill-seekers alike. As the years go by, the supernatural elements of this story remain an alluring puzzle, challenging our understanding of reality and pushing the boundaries of what is considered possible. Military involvement and conspiracy theories. As the investigation into the Dyatlov Pass incident unfolded, whispers of military involvement began to circulate, adding layers of intrigue to an already perplexing case. It was noted that the region was not only remote but also strategically significant for the Soviet military during the Cold War. Some theories suggest that the area was a testing ground for secret military operations, possibly involving advanced weaponry or experimental technology that could have contributed to the hikers' mysterious deaths. Eyewitness accounts from local residents added fuel to the fire. Some claim to have seen strange lights in the sky around the time of the hikers' disappearance, leading to speculation that their deaths might have been linked to a military accident or an encounter with an unidentified flying object. Other reports hinted at military personnel descending into the area shortly after the hikers were found, further intensifying the belief that the government might have been concealing something. In addition, the Soviet government's initial response to the incident was marked by secrecy and control over the narrative. Investigators were tight-lipped, and the official report offered little clarity, leading many to question what was being hidden. The hikers' diaries and the camera footage they took, which might have contained evidence of what they experienced, were never fully disclosed to the public. Conspiracy theorists proliferated in the decades following the incident, suggesting that the group had stumbled upon something they weren't meant to see, perhaps a clandestine military operation gone awry. The combination of unexplained injuries, the mysterious circumstances of their deaths, and the government's reluctance to provide transparency has kept the Dyatlov Pass incident alive in the realm of conspiracy, leading generations to speculate about what really happened on that fateful night in the Ural Mountains. Yuri Yudin, who had dropped out of the expedition after falling ill 5 days into the trip, maintained up until his death in 2013 that the Soviet military had to be involved in the deaths. Yudin said that all of his companions were expert skiers and hikers well prepared for avalanches or snowstorms. He also commented that many of the items found at the campsite did not belong to his fellow hikers, and that the military were more concerned over why the hikers were in the area and not what had happened to them. He also noted that the deceased hikers' bodies' clothes emitted mild radiation which could not be explained. The investigative journey. Over the years, many researchers have attempted to unravel the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident. With each passing decade, new theories emerged and old evidence was re-examined. In 2019, a new theory gained traction, suggesting that the group might have encountered a phenomenon known as kabatic winds. These violent winds could have produced sudden, disorientating gusts that would have made the conditions even more perilous for the hikers. Some researchers pointed to the possibility of an unrecorded event, such as a meteorological anomaly or a sudden change in weather, that could have caught the hikers off guard. As modern technology and investigative techniques have advanced, the hope of finding definitive answers has rekindled interest in this chilling mystery. The cultural impact. As the years passed, the Dyatlov Pass incident transformed from a local mystery into a global enigma. Families of the victims were left searching for answers, grappling with the loss of their loved ones and the lack of closure surrounding their tragic deaths. This haunting story captured the public's imagination, inspiring books, documentaries, and even movies, all seeking to uncover the truth. Every year, people gather to remember the hikers, honoring their memory and seeking justice for those lost in the Ural Mountains. The incident has become a symbol of the human spirit's resilience in the face of the unknown, reminding us that even the most experienced adventurers are not immune to nature's wrath. The ongoing mystery. So, what really happened at Dyatlov Pass? Was it an avalanche, a military incident, a supernatural encounter, or simply a tragic accident? The truth remains elusive, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the mysteries that still exist in our world. Each theory offers a unique perspective, yet none can fully account for the entirety of the events that transpired. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of history's most perplexing mysteries, blending elements of adventure, tragedy, and unanswered questions. As we reflect on the lives of those brave young hikers, we're reminded that even in the face of the unknown, the quest for understanding and closure drives us forward. Who knows what new revelations await us in the future? Perhaps one day, the chilling tale of the Dyatlov Pass will finally find its resolution. The Dyatlov Pass incident, that is one of my favourites. Now, what do you think? Avalanche, aliens, military, or something else? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, this channel is for curious people just like us, where we talk about ancient mysteries, lost civilizations, space, crime, thrillers, the supernatural, and maybe even the odd alien or two. Now, don't forget to tune in next week. We've got a really fun one for the festive period. Until then, you stay curious.